Hi, everybody. So, welcome to our Fat Friend chat. I am so glad you're all here. And if you aren't here, I'm so glad that we get to have this recording for you that you get to tap into whenever you want. So, before we begin, before I introduce our lovely guest, let's start with some breathing. So, if you want, you can turn your camera off. If not, that's totally fine. And so, we're just going to close our eyes and just kind of feel your feet on the ground or your butt in the chair, on the bed, wherever you are, and just kind of rock left to right, front to back until you find that sort of comfortable balance point. And we're going to take some deep breaths together, inhaling through the nose and exhaling everything out. Letting the day sort of melt away as you arrive here, inhaling through the nose, exhaling everything out. And one more breath in through the nose. And exhale with an audible sigh. And let's do more of those. A bonus breath. Inhaling through the nose. And exhale with that audible sigh. And then we're going to place both hands on our heart, keeping our eyes closed. And just feel your own presence with yourself as we sort of arrive in these bodies, arrive in this space. And I want you to just remind yourself that you get to take care of your needs, whether that's turning off your camera, whether that's getting some water, using the restroom, whatever you need is allowed in this space. And your needs are really important. So let's take one breath right into our hands, right into our own sort of sweet embrace, and inhaling through the nose and exhaling everything out. And when you're ready, you can start to blink your eyes open and come back into the space. And I'm going to pick our little fat self-care. I'm going to leave us with a fat self-care card. I feel like it's something we could take with us. So instead, I'm going to invite my angel friend, Kanoa Greene, who's here for our call today. I'm going to let Kanoa introduce herself, but we go way back and we've been working together and collaborating and just sort of being each other's cheerleaders for a while now. And I am so excited for everything that Kanoa is doing and is sharing. And I'm so happy that you're here. Welcome, Kanoa.
You don't know my body, don't tell me how it works now. I will not say sorry for how I make it work out. No, I let myself, all my cards round. Fat self-care, only movement in my world now.
Hi, thank you for having me. Yes, we go way back to like 2020, but it feels longer.
Way, way, way back to 2020, which was another world.
It was another lifetime ago. But it really, I mean, when we first talked, we immediately were like, oh, we've known each other, we've been sisters for like forever.
Will you tell us a little bit about what you're up to, who you are, whatever you want to share with us?
Yeah, I'm Kanoa. Hi. I am an entrepreneur focusing on just making inclusive space in the fitness industry and the outdoor active industry. So pretty much I do a lot of different things, but all of it kind of centers in and around that. How do we make the outdoors and fitness more accessible for fat bodies and welcoming space? So a lot of the work that I do is just creating brave spaces for us to thrive in those areas.
I love that. And that is something that I have always really admired is like you're like, I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna figure that out. I'm gonna go to that place. And so like what got you into outdoor adventuring or just like wanting to create that brave space? What got you into this work?
Yeah. So I was in Hawaii recovering from a myriad of like eye surgery. So I permanently lost my eyesight in my right eye in 2015. And I was living in New York at the time, fast paced. And my doctors wanted me to slow down. It's just a hard city to slow down in. The energy, it's just, yeah, couldn't do it. I was not doing well, following directions of like resting. So I was like, you know what? Let me go be with family in Hawaii and just kind of like take it down a bit. And that's when I started for the first time in 2016 hiking. I was always intimidated by hiking. Like I thought a certain kind of person was an outdoorsy person, and I just assumed that was not me. Being in a fat body, like I just always saw this picture and idea of what that looked like, and I was like, that's not me. So I guess I'm the shopping girl. Like I was like I owned that. But in Hawaii, it was like an opportunity for me to just try for the first time. And I really did enjoy it. And I got more into it. I started leading hikes around the island of just open to anyone and everyone, just inclusive spaces, focusing on no one left behind, just really letting people go at their pace, even if you didn't want to finish the hike, because that's literally how I started. It wasn't me necessarily trying to like get to the top of that mountain or to finish that trail. It was like, let me just be out here and enjoy being in my body. And then through that was this desire to want to help other people find that space. So, like through hiking, I found paddleboarding, I found surfing. And I think surfing was the first time where I really felt like there was a lot of roadblocks for fat people to have a positive experience in that sport. And once I had ventured into that, and a lot of my social media community started asking me like where are places that we could go to like have that kind of experience, to be surrounded with instructors that could really help us in an empowering and positive way, places that had the appropriate gear. And in 2018 there wasn't anything. Like we googled, and sir, I mean literally was like anywhere in the world could we find something, and we couldn't. I found one kind of labeled as inclusive, but she the only people that were ever coming were, straight size people. So she wasn't even necessarily equipped to help some, like if I showed up at one of her retreats, one, they didn't even have rash guards that went up above an XL, because I think they were only using Athleta before the plus size launch. And even now, Athleta doesn't do plus size rash like swimwear at all. So, like, I would have shown up and I would have not been equipped to participate. So that's what really pushed me to then creating the world's first plus size surf retreat. And then from there, it was like, let's create other spaces, rock climbing adventures and paddleboarding and aerial yoga, and just different opportunities for us to play and experience these things, knowing that the gear's there, the equipment's there, the instructors that are going to talk to you like regular humans, and they're going to be able to help you maneuver in our bodies, was equipped so that people could just have fun and show up. Because I feel like for me, I've said no to a lot of things growing up, and early on, because I just felt like I was, didn't, one, just scared, didn't know if I could do those things. Two, if I did venture out and have the courage to do those things, would it be a space that would embrace me, right? And I didn't want to be embarrassed. I didn't want to, go through that trauma. So it's like I didn't want to put myself through that. So I said no for a lot of things. And I just wanted people to not have to have all these questions and what ifs, but literally know that we've taken care of everything. It's like plus size people who've created space for other plus size people to have fun in.
I love that. Okay, so you mentioned retreats. What is this about? Is there like what is that?
What is that? So we started with I know, it's evolved. I mean, the first one was like a surf retreat. It's so funny because in 2019, I literally just created the one thing for my community because they wanted it and they needed it. And I literally thought it would be like a one and done, like, okay, we're gonna do this thing and it's gonna be done. And then then it was like, oh, but then there's no other opportunity for them to do other things. So Greece happened in 2021, which was more of a retreat. I think the first two were kind of that, where it was come mindfulness. I'm a a trainer, a fitness trainer, group fitness instructor, also yoga instructor and aerial instructor. So I get to bring movement and joyful movement and mindful movement into these spaces as well. So they felt very retreat-ish. Going forward, it's been a meld. We have a variety of different adventures or adventure retreats. So, like Mexico, we're doing the world's first plus size paddleboarding and aerial yoga adventure retreat. I'm going to be leading aerial yoga every day. Georgina, who's a plus size or fat paddleboarding instructor, is going to be leading paddleboard. I mean, that's amazing, right? Like, it's not just for fat bodies, but that it's fat bodies leading it. But then we have like rock climbing in Colorado, which is more of the adventure thing. Or like Switzerland is hiking, beginner hiking, and yoga. I'll be leading yoga every day. So that's more of like an adventure retreat. So we kind of mesh it up and we give people options because these things don't exist. I mean, that's the wild thing is if you're straight sized, you have all of these options and then some. It's a matter of like, where do we want to go? What's our budget? Who do we want to be with? And for fat people, it was like, this doesn't exist. So we're like, so
Yeah.
that's why I was like, okay, let's curate some things that gives our community options and really help shepherd our community into this space of knowing that they can do these things and then giving them the space to do them.
And that all of those retreats is under Nakoa Adventures,
Yeah,
right? That's the name of the brand.
Nakoa Adventure, yeah.
And what
Which
is that
means
about?
brave, daring.
Oh, I
Yes.
love it. I really think like, when you told me you were gonna do this, I got so excited because I feel like those activities are already in and of themselves like they take a level of bravery, right? To go rock
Right.
climbing, to do, some of them are more adventure, some of them are more out of my comfort zone, some of them are more in like the water stuff. I'm doing it, it's fine. But I think what I love about the way you curate a space and a community offering is like you're gonna try it. You're gonna make sure that you do have the gear or that there is a workaround or that and I think
Yeah.
I don't know that every fat community organizer has such a you're like such a perfectionist, not in that it has to be perfect, but that like sort of what we don't get and you refuse to offer that. So you're gonna go above and beyond to make sure that it's like that no one's not gonna have a rash guard or that, and like
Yeah.
those sorts of things, I think when you don't have experience, when you're in a straight size body, you don't experience the like letdown of getting somewhere and being like, oh, I guess I can't do 50% of this thing I signed up for because
That part.
they didn't think it through or whatever. And I think like I know like you and then you do fun stuff like you go on like little boat trips and like that's
Mhm.
such a fun thing that like takes courage to have people who look like you and bodies like yours who are like, yeah, let's go do it, right? Because there's parts that are
Yeah.
scary about it. And so I think you really made a space for people to try things that everybody should have the opportunity to try because it's fun and it's like
Yeah.
we have such a interesting weird planet to explore that like I think just one huge barrier is like will my body be accommodated, and I love that you've just like taken that off the sort of question block it's going to be, and
Yeah.
we'll go above and beyond to make sure that it's fun. And I think that is amazing.
It's well, and I will say that I have learned even a lot from you in the course of our friendship over the past 4 years, because there is a lot of mindful, and I will say even in my body, especially even when we met, like I think there were even sometimes it took me learning even beyond my body, right? And when I say, because I find this also happens in the fat community and with fat businesses, is we will say it's inclusive, but even then there's limitations, right? So one thing that I found when we had first announced the paddleboarding and aerial yoga, obviously there's I mean, we did it because that was the thing everyone has been harassing me to do for since like since I started taking aerial yoga in 2018. People were like starting to ask for this. So I was like, we have to make it happen. But I was like, if we're going to say that it is open for our fat community, that there are no limitations, that I can't say, oh, well, actually, that only means up to a 3X, or, up to weight limit of X pounds. And I felt like a lot of people actually did have questions. They came back and were like, but what's the weight limit? And I was like, well, there isn't one. And they're like, they were they came back with a lot of questions, and I'm like, it takes work and diligence for me to do that, but it's possible. These things aren't impossible to do for our bodies. If anything, I find aerial yoga to be even more fat friendly than regular yoga because of the support of the silk. But when we show up to studios, they look at us like we can't do any of the things, so we don't belong there. But it's really just, for me, I take on the responsibility of, I don't want people to ever come into my space and feel like, oh my goodness, she didn't think about me, or this wasn't for me. Like that to me, it would be like death, like of anything. And Anna, like I would be mortified and I would not be able to show my face ever. So yeah, I take on the responsibility. Which honestly, even straight size instructors, and I know a lot of retreat instructors that just don't take the time and effort to scout places themselves because it costs money. It's my own money that I have to then go to these destinations. I have to do all of these things and, vet everything, but it's worth it because our community, it's should already exist. And it's a shame that it hasn't until now.
Absolutely. And I think too, you don't like to be surprised by those kinds of things. And like you're like, it's fine if hiking isn't your thing, but there's gonna be something that's your thing on this adventure because we planned it, right? Like there's a something for everybody. There's a water feature. There's all of these different things that I think people can tap into, even if the main thing isn't your favorite thing, or you're like, ooh, I don't know if I would like that. Like,
Right.
it's such a nice place to just try adventuring, just try traveling, just try getting outside in a new way that I think is so hard to do alone sometimes, or just confusing. Like,
Mhm.
where do I go? Where do I start? And I think, like, when I started traveling both alone and with people, I went to a retreat first so that I could, like, I don't know, it just felt more less intimidating than just like jumping into a trip that I have to plan every detail of. And so
Right. Yes.
I think that part, and I love the community of people that you build around you because everybody's fun and positive and like there
Yeah.
to cheer each other on. Like there's sort of a baked in care component that I think you just naturally people gravitate towards you. And I think that's like something that's just a baked in bonus of being at one of your retreat or trips or adventure. I call everything a retreat because when I'm
And
not
that's the
working, I'm
general,
retreat.
but I think that's the general verbiage, right? I think especially adventure in our community is something that we don't one get to see and embrace. And I find that our community doesn't even really know how to respond to it, which is why I teeter between like this adventure retreat, because then I feel like people can relate to that a little bit more. And honestly, because I do include movement in all of them in some capacity, some have a little bit less and a little bit more. Like the one that we're doing in Tamarindo in Costa Rica in May, we're doing a combination of like some cardio workout that's fun. I'm known for dance party workouts in the VAT community. So, I love to give that as a way for all of us to kind of like get our energy up. And then, like you said, like there's a variety of different things. We have a catamaran. We only have surfing one day. And we did this adventure retreat this past May. People like loved it. And some people just did 20 minutes of surfing. They just wanted to try it. They were like, I just want to get out there, get on the board, and we'll push you in. And they're like, some people were like, that's all I needed. Like, and I'm like, you surf. Like, that literally is a surfing. And then some people were like, you're going to have to drag me out of this water. Like, it was spectrum. But it's like, and for everyone that came, only one person had ever surfed before. And it's because Genevieve actually lives in Costa Rica. She lived 2 towns away from where we were. And she was like, I'm coming to this retreat because she didn't have the community. And honestly, she never even had an instructor that could work with her body or the proper gear. So she had a different surfing experience having come to this space. But it's just literally that one and a couple others. It's like a smorgasbord. It's like you just a buffet and you get to pick different things that you want to do. But we're at amazing accommodations that are fat friendly, and just really great places where you can relax, and destinations where just fantastic. I mean, I've lived in Tamarindo, so like the bakeries, they love everyone. We have clothing shops that like they're ready to dress our people. Like, they're like, if they want to bring clothes that they want altered or any, like she's like, we'll do anything for them. And I just love that we create, and that's actually was really, and Anna, you and I talked about this a long time ago, but that was really part of it, wasn't just making the experience like what we have created as being fat friendly, but really the cities that we're in and the communities like really having an impact there, so that way people could come, even if I'm not having an adventure there, I want people to know that they can come there and do any of these things and come to that place and know that they're going to be taken care of, and people really are going to empower them, and that they're fat friendly destinations to go to.
I love that. And I do know that Costa Rica is, from your stories and things you've told me, and even other folks, that like Costa Rica is pretty fat friendly, and like there are places to accommodate your body and it's not weird to be fat there. And I think that's just
Yeah.
like such a fun place to go, because you have the jungle, you have the lush green, you have the ocean, you have the fun animals. Like there's a lot of just amazing things, and the food is good.
Food's amazing. Tama's known for their food. Which is wild. Like one of the best Italian restaurants that I've ever gone to is in that town. Like every time we go, I'm like, when are we going? Because it is this cute old Italian couple that came from Italy, and they just love to surf and they love the beach. So they moved to Costa Rica, which is where honestly is Tamarindo is known for. It's just a lot of amazing restaurateurs and chefs have like migrated there because they love the beach. They love to surf. So then what do? You open up a restaurant. You can pay to surf and live that life.
I love that. So you mentioned gear, and like what are some, so say someone's listening or gonna listen and they're like, I want to get into adventuring. What are like some things I need to start, or to even like,
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, obviously it depends on the adventure, right? Like on the activity, hiking. I mean, the great thing is I think we've had the most progress in hiking, because you have brands like Merrill who partner with like unlikely hikers. And so they created like a fat friendly hiking shoe and hiking boot. I think initially it was unisex, but now they've separated, I think because of just the construct of the shoe. They wanted to just be really distinct there. I have a pair of those I bought with my own money. They're amazing. They're in Costa Rica right now because every time I go, then I know that I have those there to hike with. So that's a great, and a lot of their shoes come in wide width also, which for me, I have wide Hawaiian feet. So you need a good wide width shoe. But then also in hiking, you have brands like Gregory packs who have made hiking packs specifically for plus size people, which is they were the first to do it. And as of now, there's only one other brand, Osprey, also does it. I think it's not as vast as the Gregory because it's a full-on collection of like 12 different packs, different sizes. I have probably about 5 or 6 of them that I take. So I have like a small one for just quick hikes or I want to travel with, to something like if you're into camping or longer hikes, which I'm not there yet. Like, come on, I'm not there yet. But
I'm just a
uh,
jaunt girl. Just a jaunt.
exactly. Like give me a few miles and like we're good. Like I want to come back and have brunch and we're done. Not I have to cook my food out in the wilderness. Like that's what I'd have to graduate to that over time. I don't know if I would. Yeah, I don't know.
And that's the other thing I really like about the way you curate things is like you're bougie. So you're not making some like you're not roughing it with Kanoa. Okay. You're gonna have
Yeah,
like
no. Because I
beautiful
think even if
accommodations,
we did camping, it would be
glam.
it would be elevated, yeah, and we would have and I work with a lot of brands, so it would be pretty, yeah, I want people to be comfortable. And especially in our community, like people travel with CPAPs and you like need electricity. Like I'm not trying to put you in any kind of compromising situation. Like I want you to have fun. And for me, I've done camping in cabins and I don't know, like after a couple of days, I just feel dirty. Even though you're taking showers, I don't know. I'm like, I need a hotel. I need walls.
I need a view. I need a balcony. I need it.
I need a great mocktail. But as in
I
regards to
need
gear, I
French
think
toast.
another right for gear, I know water sports is always a big thing. And I would say, and Anna, you might chime in here. I've always found great gear from Torrid. I think they go in and out of what they do in the active swim because in 2020, 2021, it was like amazing. They were like the first time I had seen when they were doing, they call them rash guards, which I guess so people would know to look for them, but they're the one piece suit
With the
with the sleeves. Yes, and I think I bought like 2 or 3 of those. The rash guards are really great. Great length, great support. And they do the sizing right. Like I think that's why a lot of us love Torrid because they just know how to do sizing correct for us. I don't think I've found another brand as inclusive and as supportive as them. I think there are other brands that are out there that are doing it their way, but I don't think it really, because the other part is this the supporting of our bodies. Like we need things with a little bit more compression. Sometimes the fit under the arm gets wonky in some of these brands. But I know that's a really good place to start, whether you want to do surfing or paddle boarding or snorkeling. It's a great place that I always go to. And I refer to a lot of our adventurers who are coming to water sport specific adventures to kind of look into.
I do. Okay, so for those for the rash guard suits, I didn't know they call them rash guards. That's funny.
They do for Torrid, but they've most people call them surf suits, but I think because the fat community isn't used to considering ourselves as surfers, they've called them something that people would search for.
Beth said in the comments, I got a swim top from Super Fit Hero that's super supportive. I actually love Super Fit Heroes active swim. I like that
When
they have the shorts because the whole concept is you could like hike and then jump into the water and then hike back down, or whatever. and not get chub rub, which I really like. And I like the fit of
Did you try hiking in those shorts? It's the one with this bikini bottom is the one where you can tie the sides, right?
those ones are the higher ones, but they have like a longer like bike short length. That's what I would wear if I was hiking, the bike short ones. But
Okay.
I really like their rash guard fit and you can ruch it on the side. So I do like that.
I love that.
And then I usually before I had the Torrid ones, but now those are so easy to just like throw that on if you need like a rash guard type thing or sun protection that I love
Yeah.
those. But sometimes I feel like the zipper, I'll wear like a suit under it just on the top so I'm not just like "Boo." But
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong
heroes, rash
with
guards, and they actually have a pretty good, just solid compression sport top that I feel could be a good
Yeah.
one that's even more compressive if that's like
Yeah.
sometimes I feel like it's too much, but there's not a lot of options.
There's another, I tried a rash guard brand. Oh, they do a lot of different things, but I felt like the rash guard was probably the winner for them because they do so many. I'll have to get back to you on the name. It's like a name, it's someone's name. Um, they're less, very little compression. So they're a looser fit, a longer fit. I actually found it's interesting. I found them to be, for me, I like things cropped. Like Anna knows, like I love a crop. So for it to be like long, it wasn't just it was like long. I actually got him tailored. I got my rash guards tailored to make
We
them
are not
shorter
the
because I was
same.
like, this is long. But they have so many. So I'll get you the name of that because I found them to be a really great option. I think one of our people that came to Costa Rica last year also got a rash guard from there that worked really well.
I also think like some of the men's, this is not ideal. This is more if you don't have access to the
Like,
other options. But it's what I used to wear when I scuba dive, used to go scuba diving before I had the options I have now. But I think it's like one of the main like Quicksilver or one of them, their men's plus. I can still fit
okay.
it to this day.
Yeah.
I think I got it at Costco in Hawaii.
Well, because I forget, like they make the men's sizes
Like up
lot.
to
They go up
4X.
to 5X,
Yeah.
6X for men, and women it's like an XL, which makes no sense to me. Has anyone tried? I've yet to meet anyone who's used Tomboy X, but their swim gear. But they've been doing it for so long. They
I
launched
never,
their swim gear in like 2019, but I don't know anyone who's used it.
never tried it.
Oh, see, that makes no sense. It's 9XL for men, and it's like an XL. It's literally Quicksilver is an XL for women.
See, I knew it was Quicksilver hat. So, and the cut is, it's a high neck shirt. It's gonna be the same. You know what I mean?
Just give us a little shape and some color. But you know, I won't even be caught dead in a guy's. I'm not.
I
I'm
know.
like, if you're not making it for me, I'm not
If
giving you
it's
my
not
money.
sparkly and pink, she's not wearing it.
I'm not wearing it.
That was before I had all the options. Now I wouldn't have touched out the 10-foot ball. We got options. And super fast, cute ones, cute colors, and the torrid ones have been really cute. They go in
Yeah,
and out.
Super Fit
Every,
Hero. I loved that color combos that they came out with. I loved it.
yeah,
Did they come out with a new collection since that original launch
not
for
of
the
this
spring?
one. They're
Okay.
doing softs now, super softs.
Okay.
Which I love a cozy fit. So I'm gonna open it up to everybody, but what I want to ask you before we do that is like, how do people find these adventures? Where do we go? What do we do? How do we tap into Kanoa's world?
Into my world. My world is on Instagram for the most part. So for me personally, it's my first and last name, Kanoa Greene, Kanoa Greene. And then Nakoa Adventure has its own TikTok and Instagram, and it's Nakoa Adventure. And that's where we have all of our adventures. You can also go to nakoaadventure.com. But I know we share a lot of things, all the goodies, most part on Instagram.
Yeah, and I love, that is a great resource for getting inspired, for seeing bodies like yours doing cool stuff. And there you share tips and things on there for like
Yeah.
hiking gear and all kinds of stuff. So I think you're building a really great resource library just for like how to even start to think about outdoor adventuring and how to make it comfortable in your
Yeah.
body.
We're trying to figure out a way to, because on my personal page for the last several years, we've been, or no, because they only launched it after COVID, but when Instagram had the guides feature, like that's where I had culminated so many things for fitness and for outdoor, but then those went away this year. So now we're trying to figure out where to populate, because there was so many great resources and other fat adventurers that shared things that were all kind of together. So it'll take us time, but definitely on our Instagram, we're trying to, create that content so that it's there, and always sharing in our stories different fat adventurers who also have that kind of content that you can follow and create community. I mean, the great thing is like it's such a small community, which hopefully will get bigger over time. But even like those adventurers come to Nakoa adventure retreats and have a good, because again, it's the only place that has it right now, and hopefully other people will springboard and create other opportunities.
Yeah, like Georgina is the teacher who's gonna be doing the stand-up paddleboarding in Mexico, and Georgina's so she's just a ball of life and fun. She's so fun.
So fun. So fun. It's so funny because I just can't believe I've never met her in person, because obviously we've worked as colleagues for like Join and other different projects, but never in the same space. So we're excited. And she's front, like Puerto Vallarta is her hometown. So the fact that she's gonna be leading is amazing. And then Jessie Diaz is another fat influencer who booked a spot to our Tamarindo, Costa Rica adventure retreat. And when I found that out, I was like, oh, you're gonna also lead a session. Like
You're
she's
working.
known for
You're working.
she's known for like, yeah, right, like free the jiggle class and like a lot of great affirmation work. And we're like, oh yeah, we're carving out space for you to do that. So it's amazing to see this community like pop in and find their joy, because that's going to be play for her till she's always wanted to learn how to surf. So yeah, it's going to be a good time.
I love that. Okay, I'm gonna open it up because I feel like there might be some questions. If there aren't, I'll keep asking you things. I can
Okay.
all day. But do y'all have any things you're like, Kanoa, tell me this? Or anything you're inspired to like jump into? I don't know.
I have a question. So I took an aerial and Lyra class, like a
Yeah.
class for people in plus size bodies, and that was really great. But the silks, I had the worst bruises all over my body. And so like I've thought about wanting to do like aerial yoga, but I worry about like, is there like what are like like what can you do to make that not such a problem? I know it's kind of a specific question, but I thought
No, I get, and I actually just got that question on my own Instagram last week. That's why I was like, where was that you? Because it literally was the exact same. Like she went to class, got bruises, and was like, is there
that wasn't me, but all over my back. Like it looked so much worse than it didn't feel that bad, but
right?
it was really bad. It looked awful. So yeah.
The Lyra, I've not done any Lyra work, but I think this could be applicable to that. I always recommend a few things. Like I use a towel. So like in the studio that I practice in, they've always had them. They have a whole shelf of like the yoga towels, and we fold. And so if we're doing hip hangs, we'll just put it there over the silk as a buffer. I've also seen people use another yoga mat. It's a little bit bulkier, but it does take the impact off of the silk. Like you don't feel it at all. So it just is a barrier between, because obviously that silk is literally just digging in. Once you let your weight into it, and like just digging into places where you're like, is this, are we okay? Am I going to survive this? I also use it when we do, not the hip hang, but the rib hang on the back. Sometimes I find in some of the poses, it really does hurt under my arms or in my back. So then I'll put the blanket over the silk as well as just a barrier and a cushion. Cause then I can stay in those poses longer and it's not hindering me. I know Lyra might be a little bit tricky because it's a one smaller and it doesn't have grip like the silk possibly could. But that's been something that helps. But I would say try playing around with that because I think also over time your body will get used to it, but in those first long time I still use the blanket. So like for our aerial yoga and paddleboarding in Mexico, we will have those things for everyone because it's just a lot of weight that's being pressed into this silk. Yeah.
What? There's no dumb questions here, but what's a lira? Oh,
I
this
don't know how you want to describe
the
it.
hoop?
You have more experience with the lyra
Yeah,
than I do,
that's
Jess.
the big hoop
Okay,
you
the
can
hoop I
sit
need to know.
on and you go really fast. It was amazing. I took it with Ginger Snaps, who's an aerialist in
Yes.
Austin. She was in Portland for the day, and I
Mhm.
went and took that class with her, and it was so cool. But yeah, I wonder, like, could you use like a bath, like almost like
Yes.
a rug?
Yep.
Okay.
Anything like even the rubber one, literally try different things. People, and actually there is a post on my Instagram, and literally I got this question last week. So it's the first aerial yoga post on my feed. People have other suggestions in the comment section. So if you tap into there, other people had left things that have worked for them.
I love that. I did an aerial class once and it was scarier than I thought it would be. Just the flipping, putting my feet
I
up.
would love to have you in an aerial sesh with
I would love
me.
that. I feel like I would feel way safer.
Because
I
you're
was
probably
like, yeah. Well, and the place I went, they like were a little iffy on the weight.
limit.
And I think there's another studio I've sort of looked at, and theirs are like in the thousands of pounds. Like,
Right. Like
so
if the rigging is done right, it should be it like 3,000 and up.
that's accessible.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have any more questions for Kanoa?
Actually, it's not a question, but I just want to say that thank you so much for saying that you don't have a weight limit on your stuff because I'm so used to because I'm on the scale, I'm on the bigger end of fatness. And I'm so used to seeing that something is inclusive and seeing the size ranges and then seeing it stops at like a 5X and I'm like, oh, okay, not for me. And so thank you for saying that because that really made me happy.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously there's certain places, like one thing where I'm trying to work through is like finding a truly size inclusive and weight inclusive zip lining place. There is a place in Costa Rica in La Fortuna. I just have to go myself to check out the harness to see how big it is. But it's just I right now I curate all of everything so that it can truly be size and weight inclusive. Whether that is the surfing or the paddleboarding, even the rock climbing. I think people get really freaked out by that because they're like, I'm sorry, what? We're climbing up mountains in Colorado. And it's true. Like there is Misty Mountain makes a completely size inclusive harness. And I worked with the vendors and they agreed to buy the harnesses that I wanted them to, and they did so that we could have that experience. I went twice and scouted it and took a group of fellow fat adventurers, and like nobody had ever rock climbed before. And they tried it with me just so we could test everything out. And it was like so much fun. And that's what I want people to experience is like come and try something if you want to try it. Or if you just want to hang out and have hot chocolate and with us, that's cool too. Like, I mean, someone's coming to Mexico who she does not want to paddleboard at all. She was like, I just want to come hang upside down and do aerial with you. And I'm like, come do that. Like, absolutely. You know, we have the space for you to make it truly your own.
And I love that you also, you know, there's no time limits, there's no minimums, there's nothing, right? Like if you take a
Right.
step on a hike and you're like, it's not
I'm done.
something is telling in my spirit is saying no, great. You don't have to do that hike. Like you're not obligated to do anything
Exactly.
and you're not
And it's not
sharing.
going to be awkward either. I think that's
Yeah.
the weird thing, right? Because I've definitely heard horror stories where it's like, if you're the person who wasn't doing them, like, well, bye. And then you're just like, well, that's like, that also sucks, right? But to then go on it and know, and, you know, me or someone else, we're like, yeah, okay, fine. Like, let's chill back and let's do something else. Like, let's just hang out here and chat. Like, it literally is a place that that's, I mean, I'm like, this is the mountain I'm dying on. Like, we're gonna make this thing a positive place. And I know how scary it is to step out of your comfort zone, to just show up, right? Just to get on the plane to get to wherever we are. Like that in of itself takes so much courage. And so to do these things, and I want people to know, like, I see you and it's not gonna be weird. Like if you're like, screw this. Like literally, I mean, one of our ladies literally in Costa Rica, she was like, yeah, no, I got out in the water and she was like, I'm done. We're like, awesome. So then we're like, we were like hanging out with her and she was living her best life. She wanted to live there by the end of, I don't know if she ended up looking, but she was like, I'm going to like spend half my year out here. And I'm like, awesome.
I love that.
Amazing.
And I think that is like you, I'm not trying to sound cliche, but like you bring a lot of like aloha to everything you do. Like people
Yeah.
feel good when they're around you because you really care about the space and the environment and the people. And, you know, even down to like you're picking, and I know this because I know you, you're picking like family owned establishments and you know
Mhm.
you're trying to boost the economy of like the local markets and different things while you're there. It's not just like taking or
Yeah.
like you're not going to go to the sandals, you know, you're going to like the cool boutique hotel and you get to go to the markets and like feel like you're part of the local community too, which is very
Yeah.
welcoming in Costa Rica, especially like
Yeah. And anywhere we go to. Yeah. I mean, the exception to that, I will say, which I even when I shared it, I was like, this might look weird. But for Jacksonville, where we're doing the surf camp, it's the first time that we had to not be at a local like boutique, but it's just because I was so animate that everyone needed a room where you could see the sunrise every morning because it is that view, and I'm shocking that it's even from Florida, but it's so beautiful. But in turn, it was a lot of that trip is to help boost the Black businesses that are so rooted in Jacksonville. It is the first time, and I grew up in Florida in Orlando. I'd never been to Jacksonville, but going there last year was like the first time I was exposed to what historical Black communities look like in this state. And it was a realization to me, like the political climate that's happening here, like a lot of my friends have moved, but a lot of those families don't have that option. They've generations have lived there to build businesses and homes that they can't take with them if they move, but they want to stay here and fight um to stay here. So I was like, you know what, we're gonna bring this here and help boost some of these businesses and give them some love while we're there. So yeah.
I love that. And I just as someone who knows you and loves you, like if you're even point one toe in wanting to go, I'm telling you go. Figure it out because it will be you will be safe there and you will be
Yeah.
taken care of. And traveling always has little things, right? And being in a fat body always has little things, but you're not going to be traveling alone. You're going to be with people and a lead, you know, someone who's leading the adventure in a way that's like got your back in a serious way.
Yeah. Yeah. Literally the mountain I'm dying on.
She will not continue to exist.
But
if
I'm
you
like that
don't
for
feel
everything.
cared for.
Like Anna knows, like, and she's worked with me in the fitness space. It's like, yeah, I don't mess around.
And you're like fiercely protective of this community. Like I've
Yeah.
seen you go head to head with even brands about like, no, I will not do that unless you do this. And I absolutely will not be doing that. And they
Yeah.
either listen or they're not included to the party. So I think
That part, yes.
Kanoa, thank you so much for joining us and just sharing all of the magic you bring into the world, and the way that you create space for all of us to be able to participate is truly such a, I love it. And I love you.
I love you. Thank you, everyone, for just letting me be here. Thank you, Anna. I mean, honestly, a lot of what I do, I probably wouldn't do it the way that I do it without you and your friendship. And honestly, so much of what I do has been reinforced because of things that I've learned from you. And she already knows. Like when I run into the questions and I'm like, Anna, like, what do I do? You're like,
I'm like,
I
don't
mean,
do that. We're gonna
truly,
do this.
truly, I wouldn't have felt comfortable and confident in doing this if it wasn't for you, as a friend, as a colleague. So thank you.
Don't make me cry now. Well, you know what that means. It's time for our fat self-care card, because we gotta leave with a little magic, a little, I don't know, let's see.
Little fairy dust.
We picked that one recently. We're doing another one.
Do we all get one universal card? Is that what happens?
I'm valuable because I exist. You don't have to do anything but show up as you are.
Absolutely.
So, as you walk into the world this week and the whole week, I want you to remember that you're worthy of all the good stuff, that you belong in the spaces that you reside in, and that you're important and you matter. And I hope that everybody has a wonderful evening. And thank you for sharing our fat chat with us, Kanoa.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
You don't know my body, don't tell me how it works now. I will not say sorry for how I make it work out. No, I love myself, all my cars run, fat self-care, only movement in